my slide, spotting and avoiding conflict. Yeah. So why this subject? I mean, we all face conflicts, if not conflicts, then at least uncomfortable situations from time to time. Yeah, situations that we want to handle ourselves because we are ourselves involved, or situations that we want to handle as leaders, and because we see those situations in our teams or more globally in our systems. And we have to say that, you know, nowadays with the pandemic, it adds another layer of stress and tensions, and we face more and more that type of, uncomfortable situations. Or because also maybe I'm biased because I'm called in to handle that, to help people handle that situations as well. So behind that word conflict, I mean, what I put behind is actually a whole spectrum of situations, from small tension to big crisis. Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind is all big crises actually start very small. And of course, in any crisis, there's a lot of dimensions and factors that come into the picture. Yeah, power game, personal history, personal background, the culture of the company, the relationship of the people, hierarchy, personality, etc. What is at stake? All of these are very important when you want to handle something, a longer term conflict. Our goal today is not to go through all those dimensions, well, for time constraint, obviously, but also to go to the start. As I said before, you know, all big crises start very small. So the whole idea here is to spot the beginning of it, the start of it, the small piece, yeah, and to give you a tool, a very simple one, yeah, to raise awareness of where it starts and how to handle it, because anything small become big depending on how you react. Yeah, how you react can make it.
What do you mean? What do you mean, Quinan, by meta control?
What I mean by meta control here is actually to have the capacity, the ability to handle the situation, having a helicopter view. You know, so it's to have this meta position above the situation, and to be able to have that, there's a whole actually work to do in terms of self-awareness and awareness of the situation, to have the capacity to act in the here and now, and to be able not to escalate a situation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so well, Tony, I heard from Tony that you are all quite a sophisticated crowd, so I have to say that I was hesitating to present you this one. You may just find it very simple. Saying so, simple, not so easy to implement.
I think, I mean, it's simple. I mean, being self-aware is just an awesome experience, and so I think it's very valuable. Let's see the next slide. Okay,
so what we're going to use today is the drama triangle. Yeah, it's a concept that has been introduced by Stephen Cartman, also developing a transactional analysis as well. And what he says in this model here, he represents actually any conflict or tense situation with this triangle. And he says, a situation like this starts when at least two people, yeah, one person alone doesn't start anything, at least two people take at least one or two roles in these triangles, or more roles, because you can switch, yeah? So what is behind? The roles here are the persecutor, the rescuer, and the victims. The persecutor is the one which is very obvious. Yeah, he is the one whom we see very obviously. He's the one he's being pointed out. Yeah, we can accuse him very easily. That's the one who attacks, who criticizes, who can devalue people. You know, authoritative leaders, for example. Unfortunately, there's quite a few out there. You know, they are taking that type of role. But more in a subtle way, anyone who will, you know, even in very polite and kind words, show a certain type of superiority to you, make you feel a bit uncomfortable, will actually take as well this role as persecutor. I mean, we observe that very often in leadership teams that are not mature yet, and where there's quite a bit of competition between members. That's quite frequent. Yeah. Rescuer or savior you know, it's already very less obvious to spot because that person always comes with a good intention. It's somebody who will try to help. Yeah. The issue is that that person will try to help without asking if the person in front of him or her needs it or not. He will try to help because he will see, obviously he but she as well, somebody complaining, for example, or suffering. Yeah. For example, you have a colleague in your team who's struggling, and you are the leader here. Yeah. So you take the initiative to help. You may take over maybe some of the files, and maybe you will face not only no recognition, no appreciation, or even rejection, having somebody in front of you saying, well, you know what, I mean, maybe you mind your business, yeah, you can mind your business here. Or you can face somebody who can be disengaged, saying, I mean, you don't trust me, okay, just do it then, yeah. So why did that happen? Is because that leader who took that initiative has taken the role of the rescuer, yeah. So it's less obvious, obviously, you have to enter that way in the triangle. The third role is the role of the victim. It's somebody who's here. It's the least obvious that we spot because that person usually seems just to suffer. Yeah, that person will complain about something, and fair enough, you know, the situation can be very difficult. Saying so, that person will complain, but without asking for anything specific. Yeah, or it could be somebody who will say, you know, I've tried everything, I just can't do it. Yeah, I've tried everything. Or it's somebody's fault. Yeah, it's never my fault, it's somebody's fault. Or it can be also somebody who will say, or who would accept to be in a certain type of situation, dilemma, but with impossible exits. Yeah, well, we can hear nowadays, well, because of COVID, and I can't do this and that. Because of the hierarchy, because of the government, because of the system, I'm stuck. I can't do this and that. Yeah, so somehow that person would take a role of a victim as soon as this person escapes his or her share of responsibility. Yeah. What is important to keep in mind is all the roles have an equivalent level in the situation. You can enter the role from any side, prosecutor, victim, rescuer, same level of responsibility. Yeah. One tends to take a role quite unconsciously. It's very rare to have somebody telling you, I'm going to start a conflict consciously. Yeah, I rarely meet anyone like this. Also, something important to keep in mind is we often have a preferred role that we may not have identified yet, but we often have one. As I said, we can enter from any side. Also, we need two to dance a tango. So as long as there's only one person in, if let's say you're in front of the person, if you don't answer, you don't enter, nothing is happening. Yeah. So the strategy is to avoid entering the triangle, either by initiating it or by starting it. Yeah. Is that okay? I'm going a bit fast, but don't hesitate, you know, to cut or ask.
But we're gonna go into a little role play in a minute, so it will become clearer then.
Yes, indeed. So let's practice. I have taken here a real life situation. Yeah, I've been coaching in this situation here, the senior VP, and because there was this big conflict in this XCOM. Yeah, it's a high-tech company. They are preparing to go through a specific transformation. So that transformation has been handling and prepared by this transformation team for the past 2 years. And that team, transformation team, is meeting up to discuss how to scale it. Yeah. The senior VP has been working in the company for 10 years, and he's heading the transformation. There's this new CFO who's coming, not only new to the company, but also new to the sector. Yeah. But that person is invited here, of course, to be kept in the loop. There was a big crisis, but then we came back to the beginning of it. When did it start exactly and what happened? So this is where I'm going to ask you to participate. So I'm sharing with you this small piece of dialogue here between the two stakeholders. The CFO, who's new, right. So before even scaling a business like this, can we discuss whether it has any value? Okay, then you have the senior VP. having a deep sigh. Well, that's a good question, but we're not here today to discuss this. Here it is. And then this is how it started: tension, escalation, etc. Okay, are you ready to participate and work a bit? I'm asking you. Okay, here is the first piece of the dialogue. Before even scaling the business like this, etc. I'm asking you to take the shoes of the senior VP. How do you feel when you hear the CFO's request? How do you feel? Just answer spontaneously in the chat box.
Can everyone see the chat box? Yeah, good.
Annoyed. Yeah, offended, attacked. Here we go again. Okay. Super. Frustrated, aggravated. Super. The CFO needs to understand the situation. What does he know? Ah, indeed, yeah. Super. Well, thank you. Another one. Offended, confronted. Indeed, see? Annoyed and tense. This is, here we are. Alarm clock here, yeah, telling you something. Okay. Misunderstood. Oh, sorry. How come? Second, please now take the shoes of the CFO. Yeah. You hear the senior VP replying. You are the CFO now. How do you feel when you hear the CFO, the SVP's answer? So same, yeah. Please, can you answer in the chat box? Humiliated, insulted, disengaged, power play, annoyed. Indeed, here we are. Needs to be addressed, not taken seriously. Oops, I have offended him. Annoyed, ignored. Yeah, I will not have any comment to do. Excluded. Indeed, exactly. Yeah. So here we are with this. You can spot very clearly the feelings. Yeah, and this is very important because by trusting what you feel here, this is how you can have the alarm telling you, oops, triangle, triangle. So what do we do? In a moment, we're going to ask you to work on this a bit more. We put you in a small groups. I mean, here is the questions. The dialogue is here. Let's come back to that small piece of dialogue. How do you analyze, this piece of dialogue between the SVP and the CFO using the triangle concept? Now that you have, identified the feelings that you can feel, whether being the SVP or the CFO. Yeah. So that's the first question. Second question, then, after analyzing it, is how would you say it differently then? First, if you were the SVP responding to the CFO, or let's rewind it from the start. If you were the CFO, how would you say it? Yeah. And to have you that discussion, we're going to invite you in smaller groups so that there's more space for each of you to go through the concepts and explore.
Great. So we've got questions here.